Joe, I think folks are really going to love our next segment.
Everybody likes to talk about the headlines and the hot topics of the day. That's right up our alley.
It is, and I also know that there are times when news reporters wish they had just a little bit more time to cover a story.
So this is your chance to learn a little bit more about the stories beyond just the sound bites.
So let's talk hot topics.
Recently, the Jackson County Commissioners, Budget Committee, and Administrator wrapped up their work on the 2017-18 recommended budget. A document this complex requires a great deal of time, energy, and expertise to execute. Here's how it comes together.
You recently presented the budget message to the Board of Commissioners. And can you share with us kind of the budget process from start to finish and how it all comes together? And then we'll talk a little bit more about how important that is.
You know, budget to a lot of people is this thing that's just out there that happens. And a lot of people say budgeting is really complex, and if you have the knowledge about how to budget, you know, that's important. Budgeting is complex and it's technical, but I wouldn't say it's some magical thing that happens. I want to explain a few things before I talk about how long the budget process takes so that people understand some of the factors that go into the responsibility of dealing with a budget. So the county operates on a fiscal year that runs July 1st through June 30th. And in that fiscal year, we'll receive money from the federal government, we'll receive money from the state government, we'll receive money from our local taxpayers, we'll receive money from private businesses, we'll receive money from nonprofit businesses, all who we have contracts with. We'll receive money by grants, by donations. These are all variants of funding streams. This year, our budget, roughly $339 million, comprised of all different kinds of sources. What's interesting is even though we run a fiscal year July 1st through June 30th, we might have contracts that we implement that run from August, to September. And so I'm budgeting for activities that will only fall into part of this budget year. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of contracts like that. The other thing is, we receive a lot of revenue from the state and federal government. The state's fiscal year does run July 1st through June 30th, but it runs for 2 years at a time. So the state revenues have to be projected and then modified to fit an annual budget cycle that the county has. The other thing is we receive money from the federal government, and their fiscal year doesn't run July 1st through June 30th, it runs from October 1st. And so there are all these variants of considerations that you have to understand in order to make a budget work, be able to pay the bills and make sure your budget is balanced. In state budget law, we're required to have a balanced budget. So I can't present a budget that isn't balanced, unlike the federal government, who can. And so the complexity of our budget process is why, along with Oregon budget law, is why the process takes so long. So our budget process takes about 6 months every year from beginning to end. I start in early December. I query the budget committee, I give them a status update on the budget, I present to them recommendations and ask if they approve those recommendations for how I move forward with the budget process. Between December and, as you said just now, we had our first budget hearing where I read the budget message. We have several other public meetings that are for the budget process. In my case, what I've done is made all of those meetings public. They used to happen behind closed doors, because they're not required to be public, but I wanted them to be public. I want the public to be able to understand what I'm doing when I meet with the department heads and review each department's budget, how we allocate indirect cost or overhead to all departments, what considerations were being discussed when we're putting together each department budget and then overall the county's budget. I invite the Board of Commissioners and Budget Committee to those meetings. You know, the county ordinance says I'm to prepare and recommend a budget. It doesn't say that I'm to do it with public meetings and to include all of those people. But the reason why I do it is by the time I get to presenting the budget, they understand all of the factors, some of which I just explained previously, that go into the considerations in the budget I'm putting before them. I think that helps them be informed, to listen to the presentations and listen to the public and be able to explain to the public why they may agree or disagree with what I'm recommending and what they would like me to do as we go through the budget process. You know, it is a difficult task each year, and there is, for my position, personal liability in it as well. It's not just the responsibility by ordinance of preparing and managing a budget. I mean, I have some personal liability if I am malfeasant in my performance of managing the budget, overexpending, and those types of things. So it is a huge responsibility on the person in my position.
And the first order of business we'll have is that Danny Jordan, County Administrator, will give us a budget overview.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Just first to take a second to explain the public, by budget law, we actually present the budget message, which kind of outlines the 500-plus page document that you each have a copy of. We do this the week before we actually hold budget hearings, so the public's made aware that we have a budget that will be under consideration by the Budget Committee. They're able to view the budget. As soon as we're done with this meeting, we'll post the proposed budget, the recommended budget, online. People can also view it here at our office as well. So I just wanted to make sure people understand why we're doing that. We're technically not going over the budget today. I'm just delivering the budget message. And as I have in prior years, I actually would like to, this is a public document. It's fairly lengthy, and I hope the Budget Committee will bear with me, but I'd like to read the entire budget message into the record. Each year, I give a presentation. This is meant really to be a macro kind of overview of the budget. Hopefully, this will set the stage for the individual departments coming in and giving their budget presentations and be able to see how it all fits together.